3 a.m. horror. Uncovering the shocking truth behind a deadly virus on a haunted cruise ship. The moon hung high, casting an eerie silver glow over the deserted cruise ship. It was 3 a.m. The world was asleep, but something sinister brewed in the shadows of the deck. A chilling fog rolled in, winding its way between the rusted railings and creaking lifeboats. Whispers echoed softly, stories of a cursed vessel that had seen unimaginable horrors. It was said that anyone who stepped aboard would never be the same again. Tonight, one young couple, Jake and Mia, dared to find out the truth behind the chilling tales. The air turned electric, crackling with anticipation. They could feel something, watching them. Goosebumps prickled their skin, and a tightness gripped their chests as they stepped deeper into the ship. The haunting history enveloped them. The walls, flecked with peeling paint, held trapped echoes of laughter and screams. In the heart of the ship, they stumbled upon an abandoned cabin, its door hanging crookedly on rusty hinges. A ghostly chill swept through as they pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit space, filled with unnerving silence. An old trunk lay in the corner, its leather cracked and torn, beckoning them closer. Mia reached for it, her trembling fingers brushing against the cold handle. It felt cursed, like it held the weight of the souls lost on this very ship. Jake's heart raced as he imagined the horrors locked away inside. Then came the first strange element, a diary, yellowed with age, lying atop the trunk. Words danced eerily across the page's entries filled with dread and disease, detailing a mysterious illness that swept through passengers years ago. The virus, they claimed, was unlike anything known to man. It spread like wildfire, turning the healthy into the damned, each one gasping for breath as they succumbed to its wrath. Peering over her shoulder, Jake noticed a sketch of a ghostly figure lurking behind the diary entries, eyes hollow, haunting. The air thickened. A suffocating tension made their stomachs churn. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the hallway. They froze. Fear gripped them like a vice. What was that? Mia whispered, her eyes wide with terror. Jake's pulse quickened as he felt the walls close in a primal instinct screaming to escape. But they couldn't. Curiosity was an even stronger force. They had to know the haunted stories, the whispers, the truth behind the virus. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The darkness seemed to whisper their names. Mia, more curious than ever, pulled open the diary again. The last entry sent chills down their spines. It mentioned a creature lurking in the lower decks, born from the virus itself, feeding off despair. We locked it away, or so we thought, it read. Fear raced through them. Would they be the next victims? Was the virus still aboard, waiting for new souls? Just then, a figure flashed outside the window, pallid and thin, with eyes that glinted like metal. Mia gasped, gripping Jake's arm tightly. He leaned closer, peering through the grime-covered glass and feeling his heart drop. Was it a ghost? An echo of the past? They needed answers. The ship creaked under their feet as they exchanged a fear-filled glance, one that spoke volumes. They had come too far to turn back now. But could they survive whatever waited for them in the dark corners of this haunted nightmare? A heavy silence cloaked the air as they heard soft footsteps echoing down the hall. The footsteps grew louder, each tap a countdown to dread. Jake's heart thundered in his chest, matching the rhythm of the eerie echo. We have to see, Mia urged, her voice barely above a whisper as curiosity battled the instinct to run. Compelled by a blend of fear and fascination, they edged toward the doorway, peering into the dimly lit corridor. The shadows played tricks on their eyes, twisting shapes into unrecognizable forms. Jake felt a wave of nausea wash over him, an instinctive response to the terror creeping through their surroundings. Suddenly, a gust of wind rushed down the hall, extinguishing the feeble light from a nearby lantern. Darkness engulfed them, pressing against their skin like an unseen presence. Jake grabbed Mia's hand, squeezing it tightly. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice shaky. They stepped into the blackness, each breath heavy with the scent of mildew and decay. A flicker caught Jake's eye. He squinted and saw a faint glow emanating from the end of the corridor. "There," he pointed, heart racing. Against his better judgment, he led the way, his pulse quickening with every step that as they approached. The glow brightened, revealing an open hatch leading to the lower decks. To them, it felt as though the ship itself was inviting them, luring them into its grasp. The air grew colder, chilling their bones as they took a hesitant step closer. Mia hesitated at the edge. "Is it safe?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Nothing about this ship is safe," Jake replied, forcing himself to sound braver than he felt. "But we can't turn back now." They descended cautiously into the dark, the wood creaking ominously beneath their feet. As they reached the bottom, the glow heightened, illuminating a small room cluttered with rusted machinery and twisted metal. On the far wall stood rows of framed photographs, coated in dust. Jake moved in closer, wiping away the grime to reveal what looked like happy faces taken aboard the cruise from years past. But as he scrutinized the images, his stomach turned. The eyes of those in the photos appeared hollow, like they were staring through him, begging for release. "Mia, come look at this," he called, his voice thick with unease. As she approached, he pointed to the frame closest to the exit. "They're all gone. What happened to them?" Before Mia could respond, something shifted in the corner of the room. A heavy form moved with deliberate slowness, casting a shadow that slithered up the wall. Jake's heart dropped, fear and disbelief coursing through him. "Did you see that?" "Mia, back away," he commanded, stepping in front of her instinctively. Then it happened. A low growl erupted from the darkness. The very sound made the hairs on their arms stand on end. It was not human. It was something else, a cursed echo of despair born from the very virus they had read about. Adrenaline surged as their fight-or-flight instincts ignited. "Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing Mia and sprinting back toward the stairs. Their footsteps were desperate now, pounding against the steel floors, panic propelling them forward. But as they hit the base of the stairs, a chilling voice whispered through the shadows. "You shouldn't have come here." They froze, dread washing over them like icy waves. Who was it? What awaited in the lingering darkness? They had sought the truth, but had they now awakened something that should have remained buried? With their backs against the cold metal of the ship, they'd have to decide their next move. Would they press on into the darkness or flee from the horrors it held? The ship's very bones seemed to mourn as they waited, holding their breath in anticipation of what would come next. Jake's pulse pounded in his ears as he faced the suffocating darkness, heart hammering like it was trying to break free. The voice lingered in the air, dripping with an ominous intent that clawed at his mind. He exchanged a glance with Mia, and in that shared moment, they realized they couldn't simply stand still. "We have to move," Jake urged, and his voice cracked under the weight of fear. The chill wrapped around them, squeezing tighter as they turned toward the corridor that led back into the belly of the ship. Every step felt perilous, the echo of their footsteps bouncing back, mocking them, whispering that they were not alone. Mia's eyes widened as she rushed to keep pace, her breath quickening. "Do you think it's still there?" she whispered, the tremor in her voice underscoring the panic that rhythmically thumped in Jake's chest. "I don't know," he replied, pushing through the dread. They needed answers, and the photographs, the broken smiles and hollow eyes haunted him. But we can't just let it chase us forever. As they rounded a corner, their path led them deeper into the ship, sliding through gaps of damp air and shadows. The dim glow seemed to flicker sporadically, revealing bursts of rusted machinery, illuminating old tools that looked ready to spring to life after years of dormancy. "Mia," Jake hissed, stopping abruptly when a figure flickered in the distance, just beyond the weak light. "Did you see that?" That wasn't part of the ship," Mia gasped. It was like a mirage, dark and distorted, weaving through the beams of light, flickering into existence before dissolving back into shadow. A sickening dread filled Jake as he realized the figure seemed to mimic their movements, lurking and retreating like a dark reflection. "We need to find a way out of here," he urged, grabbing her wrist, fear springing into action. Suddenly, the air shifted, heavy with the scent of something sharp and metallic. The growl from before reverberated again, closer now, a warning they couldn't ignore. The sound was deep and guttural, resonating through the ship's walls and vibrating in Jake's bones, seeping into his mind. Did it get out? Mia's voice trembled, dread lacing her words. With no time to waste, they darted forward, desperate to escape the encroaching terror. The dim glow led them to what appeared to be a small control room, filled with levers and gauges that hadn't seen a human hand in years. Dust danced in the air, catching the little light like flecks of some trapped memory. "Mia, help me look," Jake said. They rifled through the remnants scattered everywhere, calling out half-formed words over the brewing chaos around them. "There has to be something here." Just then, a loud crash erupted behind them, sending shards of metal scattering as the air filled with the reek of spilled oil. The shadow of that sinister presence loomed larger, taking form, and suddenly, what they believed to be a nightmare sprang to life. "Hide!" Jake yelled. They ducked behind the console, gazes locked, minds racing. Whatever they had awakened wasn't going to let them leave unscathed. Heartbeats thudded like a drum in the silence that followed, every second stretching like a taut wire. Shadows twitched at the edges of their hiding spot, the presence prowling closer. And then it happened. A sharp, shattering scream broke the stillness, echoing in a way that was painfully familiar. Jake breathed, realizing with horror who it sounded like: the lost souls trapped in those photographs. He turned, ready to face whatever darkness came, but as he scanned the room, something pivotal clicked into place. In the far corner, an object glowed faintly, pulling at his gaze, whispering promises that sent shivers down his spine. "What is that?" Mia's voice was barely a murmur. Before they could move toward the glow, a shadow finally edged forward, the face obscured, but the presence unmistakably malicious. "Time to leave, children," it hissed, the words curling like smoke. And in that moment, Jake understood. The truth they sought might be more terrifying than he had ever imagined. Was the ship calling them home, or was it a trap set by spirits who craved revenge? He gripped Mia's arm tighter. "Whatever happens, don't let go." As the looming darkness began to consume the light, their instincts surged. What lay ahead promised not just answers, but perhaps a reckoning. Jake's heart thundered as they rushed for the mysterious glow, knowing they were out of time, and hope dwindled with every passing breath. What they would discover could alter everything or seal their tragic fate. Would they find salvation or succumb to the horrors that lay ahead? The flickering glow pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing Jake closer. It was a crude, tarnished box, the surface etched with bizarre symbols that seemed to shift and swirl. Panic twisted in Jake's gut. What if that box held the answers they were seeking? Or worse, what if it was a beacon for the darkness hunting them? "Mia," he whispered, desperate to break the grip of fear tightening around him. "We need to see what's inside." The growl reverberated again, more pronounced now, as if the shadows were consolidating their strength for an onslaught. Dread flooded his veins, but curiosity urged him to take a step closer. "Don't," Mia hissed, her grip tightening on his arm. "What if it's a trap?" Jake fought back a wave of frustration, the pulsing light tempting him with the promise of clarity. "We need to know. We can't run forever." He turned, scanning their surroundings for any sign of the presence that lurked just beyond their perception. The growling had transformed into a low hum, vibrating with a menacing energy. The symbols on the box shimmered in the dim light, catching Jake's eye again. "Look, it's not just any box." Something is his words disintegrated as the shadows seemed to breathe around them, coiling like tendrils reaching out to snare their minds. Before he could argue further, the box emitted a sudden surge of light, illuminating the control room. It was like a spotlight, casting long, angular shadows that twisted unnaturally. And within that blinding brilliance, Jake caught sight of flickering images, faces, pleading and terrified. "No," he murmured, the weight of realization crashing down on him. Those faces were the same ones from the photographs, twisted in agony, alternate versions of the victims trapped within the ship's haunted currents. "Mia, I think those are," he struggled to form the words. "Those are the lost souls." The shadows writhed, infuriated, as though struck by a truth they couldn't suppress. A deep hiss sliced through the air, and Jake felt the heat of malevolence washing over him. "You've awakened us," a distorted voice echoed from the depths. "Now you'll join us forever." Their surroundings flickered like a faulty TV screen, control panels buzzed and sparked as if the ship itself was alive and in agony. The box trembled, urging them to act before it was too late. "What do we do?" Mia's voice cracked, her eyes darting to the walls, as if the ship might somehow offer a way out of this nightmare. "We open the box," Jake declared, adrenaline pushing him forward. Maybe it's the key to breaking this cycle. He reached for the lid, his fingers trembling. Mia gripped his shoulder, her breath shallow. "Jake, think this could be a mistake." "Whatever it is, it's less dangerous than that thing out there," he shot back, just as the growl morphed into laughter, echoing around them, rife with malice and dread. Every instinct screamed at him as he flipped open the lid. A rush of cold air surged from the box, and with it came a cacophony of whispers, the anguished cries of those who had been lost for too long. "Jake!" Mia gasped, the light dazzling. Wrapping around them like chains, as the shadows coalesced into a fearsome figure, they caught a glimpse of something etched inside the box before it consumed them, a journal, its pages flipping wildly, revealing secrets long buried. "Stop!" Mia cried, instinctively stepping back. The figure loomed above, poised between them and the box, a menacing silhouette against the bright chaos. Would they be swallowed by the darkness, or could they reclaim the light? What awaited them in the diary's indecipherable scrawl could either reveal the truth or seal their doom. Time was running out, and the echoes of despair grew deafening. "Jake, we need to," but the last words were drowned out by the rush of shadow and the force of the unknown, ready to drag them both into the depths. Jake's hand hovered above the journal, fate hanging in the balance. Would it be salvation or destruction? As the figure surged toward them, he felt the weight of every lost soul compressing around him, driven by an insatiable hunger for justice, vengeance, or perhaps release. And then darkness engulfed them once more, the promise of an answer teetering on the brink of oblivion. Was the knowledge hidden within worth the risk, or was it already too late to turn back? Jake's heart raced as the shadows wrapped around him and Mia like a suffocating shroud. The growl echoed louder, morphing into a sinister chant that thrummed through his bones. The room blurred, and all he could see was the flickering light of the box, his only hope and his greatest peril. "What do we do?" Mia's voice trembled, panic cracking like thin ice. Her wide eyes darted between the looming figure and the pulsing box. The air was thick with tension, vibrating with uncertainty. "We have to take it," Jake urged, his voice steadier than he felt. He had to convince her. "It might be everything we need to understand this place, to understand what happened to those people. Or it could be a death sentence." Mia shouted, the desperation creeping in, leafing through the pages of her swirling dread. But the figure inched closer, a menacing silhouette against the blinding light. Its form twisted and contorted, as if made of shadows and fury. Jake felt the chill seep into his skin as it whispered, "You seek the truth, but truth comes at a price." Jake stood rooted, staring at the swirling light, where the journal beckoned like a lighthouse in a storm. He couldn't let fear grip him now. "No more running, Mia. We'll never know what we're fighting against if we don't look." Mia glanced back at him, uncertainty flooding her eyes. That moment stretched, filled with unspoken fears and memories of those trapped within the ship's cruel embrace. But with another growl echoing from the depths, the decision hung heavy between them. "Together," she finally whispered, a resolve blossoming beneath her fear. "Together," he echoed, gripping her hand tightly. With a swift motion, they dove into the chaos of light and shadow. The box erupted with energy as they opened it wider. Bursting forth was a whirlwind of desperate cries and surreal images. The faces flitted past, friends lost, family members, all lingering within that ethereal space. Jake felt their weight settle upon his shoulders as they beckoned him to join them or to set them free. "Read it," the figure hissed, its voice reverberating with tumultuous power. "Become one with the knowledge. Embrace the darkness." "No," Jake shouted, pulling away, mirroring Mia's growing panic. "This isn't what we want." But the journal's pages continued to flip, revealing snippets of cryptic messages and jagged illustrations. He glimpsed drawings of twisted masses, dark rituals, and the ship's tragic past. It's trying to ensnare us. Mia yelled, the shadows tightening their grip. Tell me what it says. Mia urged, wrestling with the pull of the shadows as the light grew brighter. I think it shows how it began, Jake shouted, his voice almost lost amidst the chaos. A virus had spread, infecting everyone. That's why they're trapped. The atmosphere crackled, raw fear surging through them. The file danced in the air, sending sharp shards of light across the room, images of their doomed voyage. The horror made real with every beat of Jake's heart. You're a part of this now, the figure roared, darkness swirling around them. The box throbbed dangerously beneath their hands. No. With a surge of determination, Jake pushed back against the consuming shadows. We're breaking this cycle. With a deep breath, he plunged his hand into the chaos, grasping the journal, pulling it free even as the darkness clawed at his skin. The moment the journal fell open, a blinding flash of light erupted, shocking him and Mia into a different world altogether. The growls faded to a whisper, but the shadows still lingered at the edges of their minds. Where are we? He gasped, scanning the ethereal landscape before them. Colors bled vibrantly, but there was no sign of the ship, just the weight of the journal heavy in his hands. Mia turned to him, fear stark in her gaze. Do you think we escaped? Or just slipped into another nightmare? Jake replied, feeling the ties of dread wrapped tighter around them. As the air shimmered, the shadows stirred again. They weren't done yet. Time is not on your side. The dark figure's voice echoed around them, filling the emptiness. A taunt that hung in the air. What does it mean? Mia asked, her voice shaking. Jake opened the journal again, pages flipping wildly. Words were forming warnings or prophecies. He couldn't tell, but they couldn't stay here. We have to find out, he insisted, determination flaring despite the fear curling in his belly. Find out what? Mia pressed, but Jake's focus was already drifting, sensing the looming presence returning once more. In the shadows, he breathed, watching the words flicker into clarity. We need to confront what lies beneath, but before they could make a move, the onset of darkness rushed back, threatening to consume them whole yet again. Were they merely passing from one hell to another, or was there a deeper truth waiting to be unearthed? As the void loomed around them, Jake felt the chilling essence of dread intertwining with the glimmer of hope. What would they discover when the darkness revealed its secrets? And could they survive what lurked within? The world around them twisted as the shadows circled like predators, a palpable tension gripping Jake's mind. His heart hammered as he clutched the journal tightly, its pages still restless from the chaos they had torn free. Despite the overwhelming fear, the flickering words began to draw him in, promising answers wrapped in darkness. Mia, look, he shouted, pointing to a particularly vivid passage. The text pulsed like a heartbeat, and as he leaned closer, a name jumped out at him, Elena Severin. This is someone who was aboard the ship. She is connected to this. Who? What does it say? Mia asked, her hands trembling. She leaned over him, her eyes scanning the page. Jake read aloud. Elena was the last to escape before the virus decimated the crew. It responded to fear. Fueled by anger, it absorbed their terror as they succumbed. The shadows wriggled, seeming to hunger for this revelation. No, that's exactly what we need to avoid, Mia exclaimed, stepping back. But the shadows slithered forward, distortions growing sharper, eager to claim their feared as Jake continued. Shadows danced on the wall like phantoms remembering their past. There's more. It mentions a safe place within the ship, a sanctuary to shield against the darkness. He felt a flicker of hope. We can find it. Mia's eyes lit up for a moment. Then the weight of despair returned. But how? We barely escaped the last attack. What if this is another trap? He could feel the urgency press against his chest. We have to try. If there's a chance, any chance, it could be our lifeline. Without another moment's hesitation, Jake pulled himself to his feet, gripping Mia's hand tighter. We need to move. We can't let it control us. As they stepped forward, the darkness lurched. It lashed out, desperate to keep them tethered to the chaos. In a surge of instinct, Jake and Mia ran, dodging the creeping shadows that clawed at their heels. Where do we even look? Mia panted, her breath hitching with every pounding step. I don't know, Jake admitted, scanning the swirling landscape. But if there's a sanctuary, it might be close. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the air like a distant storm, and the ground beneath them trembled ominously. Cracks snaked through the vivid colors, darkening the edges of their escape route, threatening to swallow them whole. This place is falling apart. We have to hurry. As they sprinted, the journal flared with an intense light. A passage opened like a door in the void, revealing a path lined with ghostly apparitions' faces twisted in agony, trapped in their own loops of despair. They're warning us. Mia gasped, her voice trembling. Jake felt a heavy lump in his throat as he tripped on the uneven ground. We can't stop. We have to push through. Drawing on every ounce of strength, they barreled deeper into the path. With every stride, Jake filled his mind with resolve, wrestling against the panic clawing at his chest. But the shadows closed in, a cacophony of growls and whispers urging them to relent, to give in. Mia stumbled, and he spun to grab her arm. Stay with me. We're almost there. Jake, look, she cried, pointing ahead. A dim light flickered in the distance, illuminating an archway. It has to be the sanctuary. Before they could reach it, the shadows surged forward, launching tendrils that snaked around their arms and legs, pulling them back with a violent force. Let go, Jake shouted, the grip tightening around him like chains. He fought against the darkness, struggling to free himself and Mia. We can't give up now. The journal glowed fiercely in his grasp, as if resonating with their shared fight. Hold on, Mia. We're breaking free. He thrust the journal towards the shadows, and an explosive burst of light erupted from its pages. The dark figure materialized before them, its eyes burning with rage and hunger. You think you can escape the truth? You will be consumed. But just as the last vestiges of hope began to slip away, the light from the journal amplified, pushing back the encroaching shadows. Jake felt a sudden surge of adrenaline surge through him. Now, Mia, run. They lunged toward the archway, the light guiding their way. But the darkness roared defiantly, ripping through the air, ready to drag them back into despair. As they dove through the shimmering barrier, everything exploded into blinding whiteness once again. And then, silence. Jake blinked, disoriented as he found himself standing in a dimly lit chamber. The soft glow of flickering candles danced on the walls, revealing intricate symbols and markings. A deep breath steadied him, but fear lingered at the edges of his resolve. Mia? He called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. A whisper slinked through, wrapping around him, coaxing out the dark thought. Is this a safe haven or the breeding ground for the next nightmare? As panic threatened to bloom again, he sensed an ominous presence stirring within the shadows of the chamber. Would they find solace here or awaken something far worse? With an anxious heartbeat, he turned, knowing whatever awaited them would test their will to survive. What new horrors lay in wait? And would the truth bring liberation or shatter their very souls? The air felt thick, almost electric, as Jake scanned the chamber. The shadows clung to the corners, curling like smoke, and the flickering candles cast eerie shapes on the walls. There was a creeping dread that settled in his stomach, amplifying his heartbeat. Mia? He called again, his voice louder this time, reverberating through the vast emptiness. Anxiety clawed at him as he edged forward, half expecting something to leap from the darkness. Here, she answered from behind a massive stone pillar. Relief washed over him as he hurried to her side. Her expression mirrored his fear-wide eyes, trembling lips. What is this place? She whispered, glancing about as if expecting the walls themselves to close in. Jake shook his head, trying to focus. The journal said there's a sanctuary here. We need to find it. As they stepped further inside, the symbols etched into the stone appeared to pulsate in the flickering candlelight, telling stories of terror and ancient horrors. Each step echoed ominously, sending a ripple of nerves through Jake's body. They dodged the increasingly ominous shadows that appeared to stretch and shrink around them, twisting into ghostly forms that whispered unintelligible secrets. Then, out of nowhere, the journal flared up again, a blinding light cutting through the damp atmosphere. Jake grabbed it, the heat radiating through his palm, drawing him toward another passageway marked by towering arches. Look, Mia pointed to a collapsed section of wall. Maybe it goes deeper. As they approached, the shadows erupted into a frenzy, swirling violently around them. Jake's breath hitched as a piercing scream seemed to echo from the walls, a sound so filled with anguish that it sank into his bones. Mia, stay close. He pulled her behind him, adrenaline racing through his veins. With a sudden lurch, the ground trembled beneath them, and dust cascaded from the ceiling. The shadows lunged, tightening around their limbs, fierce and possessive. You can't escape, they seemed to taunt, their voices a cacophony of despair. Fight it, Jake shouted, tugging at Mia, but the darkness threatened to pull them apart. We have to reach the center of this place. As he struggled, the journal's light dimmed, flickering like a candle on the brink of being snuffed out. Focus on the light, Jake, Mia urged, her voice surprisingly strong amidst the chaos. Focus on what we're fighting for. Jake's grip on the journal tightened. The memories swelled in his mind, images of laughter, joy, a life untainted by fear. He conjured that warmth, channeling it into the journal. We're not afraid, he shouted, his voice mingling with theirs. As if responding to his rallying cry, the journal surged with power, illuminating the chamber brighter than before. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they fragilely released their grip. Now, move, Mia urged, her eyes fierce and unyielding. Hand in hand, they sprinted toward the uncertain passage ahead, leaving the shadowed horrors thrashing behind them. They broke through the archway and stumbled into an open space, gasping for breath. What lay before them was astonishing, a grand hall filled with mirrors reflecting their image, but twisted. Each reflection looked haunted, exhausted, a ghost of its former self. Are we looking at ourselves? Mia fell silent, taking a step back. The mirrors whispered their insecurities, each one amplifying their doubts. Don't look into them, Jake shouted, urgency flooding his voice. They'll trap you. But curiosity tugged at Mia as she neared one of the mirrors. What if they show us the truth? Or what if they drown us in our fears? Jake countered, another quake shaking the ground, displacing the candles and sending them clattering to the floor. The tattered boundary between reality and the nightmarish world they faced began to fracture. Shadows seeped in, filling the hall like water from a broken dam. We have to break them, Jake shouted, desperate to keep Mia from stepping too close. And then, from the edge of the mirrors, a dark figure loomed, its face obscured, a chilling grin stretching across. Its features, what's hidden will be revealed, but at a cost. Jake felt bile rise in his throat. No. We want to play your game. Panic surged as he dashed forward, ready to face whatever nightmare awaited them, determined to uncover the truth. But at what sacrifice? With shadows dancing behind him and an unknown terror ahead, he braced himself for what lay within the mirrors. Would this revelation set them free or plunge them into deeper darkness? Jake's heart raced. What horrors awaited them in the reflections? And could he trust Mia to resist the dark temptations lurking there? Jake's breath, a sharp buzz in his ears. Time dilated as he reached the first mirror. Its surface rippled, an unnatural wave like disturbed water. No longer mere reflections. These were whispers of the past, echoes of fears long buried. Each flicker of movement felt invasive, drawing him in with icy fingers. Mia, step back, he urged, turning to see her entranced. Her gaze was void, lost in a world behind the glass. This isn't real. Suddenly, a voice, smooth and inviting, pierced the air. Why fight what desires to set you free? The figure emerged from the shadows, a mirage just outside the reach of the candlelight. Welcome to the Hall of Truth. Here, you can unearth your deepest fears and your true selves. Jake's heart raced. Get away from her. He lunged, but the shadows leapt like wild animals, wrapping around him. Do you think you can shield her forever? What awaits beyond these mirrors reveals more than just reflection. It reveals your flaws. The figure's smile twisted further, the edges curling mockingly. Mia blinked, shaking her head as if waking from a dream. Jake, something pulled me in. I think I saw, don't say it. He shouted, panic tightening around his throat. He needed her focused, grounded. The crushing grips of despair threatened to overwhelm him, but everything around them shifted, the mirrors wobbling like liquid, faces emerging, ghostly visages adorned with pain and sorrow, pleading for salvation. You cannot hide, they hissed. We have all been here, trapped, just as you will be, unless you confront the truth. No, I won't, Jake said, voice trembling yet resolute. He locked eyes with Mia. We have to break through. This place wants us to fear, to doubt. Just then, the hall rumbled. The candles flickered wildly, threatening to extinguish. The dark figure moved closer, looming like an insurmountable shadow. To break the mirrors, you must first break yourselves. Mia's eyes were wide, filled with uncertainty. What does that mean? What does it want from us? We must face what we've hidden. Jake gritted his teeth. The past, our regrets, it's all part of this hell. It's not just about us, Mia breathed. These people, their pain, can we even help them? Maybe, if we confront the darkness we harbor, we can share the light. His resolve strengthened. He recalled the energy of the journal. Determination coursed through him. Let us give them our strength, Mia. Together, we can face anything. With a faltering breath, Jake raised the journal high. The soft glow pulsed, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. We choose to face our truth. He shouted. We choose hope. The crystals shattered. An explosion of glass erupted from the mirrors, releasing a torrent of anguished cries. The dark figure staggered back, bewildered, and the wounded souls fled from their glassy prisons, spreading outwards, searching for light. But the shadows regrouped, swirling in a cyclone of despair, threatening to pull them under again. You think you're free? The figure snarled, quickly regaining composure. Your truth is darker than you know. Enough. Jake's voice rang out, echoing in the chaos. We want to be consumed. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Cracks spread like lightning through the chamber floor, and reality wavered. A mirage of memories flared, laughter, love, each moment igniting sparks within them. Yet, in the chaos, shadows began to seep from the mirrors, dark apparitions rising, stretching hands toward Mia and Jake. No, Mia yelled, gripping Jake's arm. They're back. Break them. We have to destroy the mirrors. Each horrifying image pressed in on them. Images of failure, loss, regret capturing their thoughts. Jake's heart stuttered as he felt their anguish clawing at him. Don't give in. They stumbled forward, pounding at the nearest mirror with fists and willpower. We are stronger than you think. He bellowed, as shards erupted around them. With every strike, the echoes of shadows grew dimmer. But with every hit came a wave of fear from the depths of his memory, each pain threatening to swallow them whole. Breathing heavily, he turned to Mia, desperation gripping him like the shadows. We need to hold on. But from the corner of his eye, he saw the dark figure reforming, growing amidst the shadows with an ominous laugh. Do you truly believe you are in control? In that moment, Jake felt both their fates hang in the balance. Would they surrender to the shadows, or could they break the chains binding them to fear? The tension in the air grew thick as questions clouded his mind. What truth would they face? And would this volatile sanctuary reveal their salvation or drag them down to a darkness eternal? The haunting laughter echoed in the air, leaving them both shaken as the ground trembled once more. The echoes faded into a heavy silence, broken only by the distant crackle of the crumbling chamber. The dark figure hovered, its laughter a chilling breeze that clawed at Jake's courage. Shadows danced around them, grotesque shapes twisting in a macabre ballet. Each wave of darkness whispered secrets, enticements, urging him to give in, to let despair take hold. Mia, hold on to me, Jake shouted, his voice strained as he struggled to keep the panic at bay. He felt her grip tighten on his arm, warm and steady in the turmoil. I'm here, she replied, her voice clear but trembling. What do we do now? The weight of her question pressed heavily on him. He could almost feel the darkness swirling, hungry for their submission. He could sense the oppressive energy growing, each heartbeat like a countdown to their downfall. But a flicker of defiance sparked within. We keep fighting. There has to be a way out, we just have to believe. The dark figure melted closer, its form shifting like ink in water, smirking as if it could taste their fear. Belief. Yes, but what if the truth you discover is far worse than the shadows? A cold dread settled in Jake's chest. We'll confront whatever it is. I want to let it control us. His heart thudded fiercely, the journal still cradled tightly in his hand. The candles flickered again, each pulse illuminating the faces of the lost souls trapped within the mirrors. Their eyes filled with pain, sorrow, desperation pierced through the shadows, seeking solace. Help us, they cried in muted whispers, their voices merging into a haunting chorus. Don't abandon us to this darkness. Mia stepped forward, her eyes bright with determination. We can't let them suffer like this. They need us, Jake. We have to give them hope. Hope? In this place? The figure taunted, its tone both mocking and menacing. You are fighting against a reality you cannot escape. You want to save their souls, yet your own are at stake. The swirling shadows latched tighter, like barbed tendrils digging in. Jake's throat constricted. His memories flared like scars reopening, threatening to drown him in a sea of past failures. The shadows fed on his dread, whispering reminders of heartbreak, mistakes, and lost chances. No, he gasped, shaking his head vigorously. Not now. He gritted his teeth and slammed his fist against the nearest mirror, determination erupting within him like a flame. You're not our master. You will not define us. We choose to rescue them. The glass rippled and shimmered, responding to his raw emotion, breaking its placid hold on reality. Fractured beams of light burst forth, illuminating the room with a brilliance that scorched the encroaching darkness. With every cry of the wounded souls resonating in his heart, he felt his fear dissolve, replaced with strength. Jake turned to Mia, whose face mirrored his own fight against despair. Together, let us pull their truth into the light. They unified their voices, shouting words of resilience, declaring their hope over the haunting laughter that clawed at their sanity. We choose light. We choose courage. We will not give up. The mirrors trembled violently, the air thickening like a tempest of power swirling around them. Fools. The figure seethed, anger flooding through its tone. But even through menace, a flicker of uncertainty danced across its features. In that moment, Jake felt the ground shift beneath them, a violent quake shuddering through the chamber. Shadows howled as if in retaliation, and the figure grew large and menacing, rushing forward in an attempt to engulf them both. We can't give in. Mia screamed, eyes wide with fear and fury. This is our battle. Their unity surged. The warm glow of the journal pulsed brighter, illuminating the shadows. But as the figure lunged, Jake's breath caught in his throat. Would this be the last stand against shadows that held their nightmares? With a final push, he braced himself against the storm of darkness, knowing they stood on the brink of an unimaginable truth. Could they break the cycle of despair, or would they be lost forever in the abyss? As their cries echoed, the lights seemed to flicker, casting doubt on everything they had fought for. Jake! Mia's voice trembled as the darkness lunged again, the room shaking around them. Was this truly the moment of their reckoning, or merely a prelude to a fate worse than death? Jake's heart hammered in his chest as he gripped Mia's hand tighter, grounding himself against the torrents of fear swirling around them. They were on the cusp of unveiling the truth, yet darkness clawed at their resolve. Shadows of despair writhed, desperate to reassert their control, but with every ounce of courage within him, Jake faced the looming figure head-on, eyes blazing with determination. This ends here, he shouted, the words echoing like a battle cry. The dark figure paused, its eyes narrowing in surprise. For a moment, the air charged with unexpected energy, electric with the potential of their defiance. He could feel Mia's strength at his side, her fierce spirit feeding his. The shadows responded with fervor, swirling tighter. But Jake had tasted the bitterness of defeat before, and he wouldn't allow it to choke them again. We are not afraid, he roared, channeling everything he had left into the journal, its light pulsing brighter in response. The echoes of the lost souls fueled his fight, their desperate cries compelling him forward. Mia stepped beside him, her eyes locked on the darkness surrounding them. We choose hope, she declared, her voice steady, breaking through the suffocating silence. This is not our ending. Together, they raised the journal high, its light illuminating the space around them, forcing the shadows to recoil. The dark figure screeched, the sound distorting, a cacophony of fury that shook the hall. You think you can defy the truth? You will join the rest consumed. A wave of shadows crashed toward them, but Jake and Mia stood resolute. Together, they called upon the strength of every soul that had been ensnared by the ship's dark past. Not anymore, Jake shouted, heart racing with adrenaline. He plunged the journal toward the figure, and suddenly, a blinding light erupted from its pages, washing over them like dawn chasing away night. The shadows writhed and shrieked, as the light engulfed the cold darkness that had tormented them for so long. That brilliance. Broken images of lost souls swirled, merging with the light until it exploded outward, shattering the very essence of the darkness. The figure howled as its form unraveled into a vortex of spectral fragments, dissipating into the air like fog before the sun. "Hold on," Mia cried, squeezing Jake's hand until he could feel the warmth of her strength sinking into him. The power of the journal surged as its light enveloped them, pushing back the remnants of despair that clung to the corners of the chamber. One final push sent a shockwave rippling through the space. The mirrors shattered, their glass erupting like stars across the darkness, a beautiful desperation. As the last shards fell, light flooded the room, illuminating the faces of the lost souls now free from their torment. Faces brightened, relief washing over them, and Jake felt an indescribable weight lift. Hope wasn't just a flicker. It was a blazing flame ignited by their courage. Breathless and trembling, he turned to Mia, their eyes locking in shared disbelief. Did we do it?" he whispered, the enormity of their struggle settling in. The chamber that had been heavy with darkness now shimmered warmly, colors rippling like waves of Mother Nature's embrace. "Yes," she replied softly, tears of joy filling her eyes. "We did." But the moment was fragile, and they knew the night was still alive beyond their victory. The haunting echoes of the ship lingered, a chilling reminder. They had unveiled the dark truth, but they had also stirred the remnants of a haunted past. "We need to leave," Jake said urgently, feeling the remnants of energy flickering as the candlelight began to dim. "If the darkness was here, it can return. We have to find a way off this ship before the curse comes back." They moved quickly, the journal still glowing softly in Jake's grasp, its power ensuring their safety as they made their way back through the crumbling halls, now illuminated with newfound resolve. With every step, he glanced at Mia, her spirit a beacon of hope. In the depths of despair, they had forged a bond stronger than fear together. They had faced the shadows and emerged victorious. As they reached an exit, bright moonlight spilled through the open door, painting the darkness with warmth and light. The ship creaked, still echoing its lost stories, but as they stepped over the threshold, it felt less like a prison and more like a memory, a chapter closed. They stood at the rail, the ocean vast before them, and for the first time, the whispers of the ship seemed to fade into the distance. They had survived a harrowing nightmare, and while wounds would linger, the hope they fought for glowed brighter than the night sky. Jake took a deep breath. "We made it," he said, glancing at Mia. She smiled, a radiant light against the dark backdrop. They were free. "Together," she echoed. Just then, a breeze lifted, promising new beginnings. But deep within the shadows of the ship, something stirred, a reminder that the past is never truly gone. Its whispers linger in the dark, waiting for their moment to return. The night closed softly around them as they set their sights on the horizon, two souls, united in facing the darkness, stepping into a future filled with endless possibilities. And as they sailed away from the haunted ship, an echo resonated through the air. "Always remember, fear may lurk in the shadows, but together, light can guide the way." Now, this story has reached its end, but your journey is just beginning. If you enjoyed this thrilling ride, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately. Don't wait even one more second to share this with friends who need to see how the truth unfolds. Smash that like button now to fuel our adventures ahead, and flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what happens next. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Let us keep this community alive and thriving.